So it seems like forever since Nvidia initially announced the 3080, but they have another event coming up very soon. I'm going to tell you when, and I'm going to tell you what they're likely to announce, and hint, yes, it's probably going to be another GPU or two. Let's get started. Hey guys, Tiago with Classical Technology. Some say every time you subscribe and smash that like button, Nvidia puts more and more GPUs by the hundredfold out into the market, hoping to catch up with some of the demand. So you heard right, Nvidia has another keynote or another presentation, and here people are really expecting something to be announced. It's not going to be any major surprise because we've had a few hints from Nvidia, and we know that most likely there are going to be 2 GPUs coming, but there's some really different things about these GPUs that we have to discuss, and it's definitely possibly going to change the landscapes of GPUs going forward. So when is the event? It's going to be May 31st. It's going to be around 10 p.m. or around 1 a.m. Eastern time, which is going to be June 1st. I know it's a pretty late event, but so if you leave your computers on around 1 a.m. if you're on the East Coast, that's when the event is going to be. So between May 31st and June 1st, depending on where you are. So what are we expecting to see from this event? Mainly, we are expecting 2 GPUs. First, it's going to be the 3080 Ti, and secondly, the 3070 Ti. Now, normally when these GPUs are announced, especially the Ti variants, people are really excited because it's going to be a higher performing variant of what existed before. But we have one huge problem in the market, and that's really the availability and pricing of GPUs have pretty much all gone upside down. You can blame whatever you want. You can blame all the events from last year. You can blame, cryptocurrency mining. You can blame sort of the demand from gamers. But at the end of the day, we just don't have enough GPUs. So that kind of mars this announcement a little bit. A 3080 Ti normally should be an exciting announcement, but most people just think it's either going to be way too expensive or, and most likely both, you're not really going to be able to find it at all. Now, it does seem to be actually a really good GPU. It's going to slot, as you would imagine, right between the 3080 and 3090. It's only going to have 12 gigabytes of VRAM, which for gaming is a little bit of a bump up from the 3080's 10 gigabytes of VRAM. Keep in mind, this is the faster GDDR6X, so I guess Nvidia figured that 12 gigabytes is more than enough to future-proof in 4K and 8K gaming, and that stays far enough away from the 3090's 24 gigabytes of VRAM not to really crawl into those sales or anything like that. Now, the 3090 will continue to be the fastest GPU in terms of the raw numbers as well as the price, but the 3080 Ti, especially in some early leaked benchmarks that we've seen, seems to certainly keep up with the 3090 in most games. It's going to be a very minor difference. In fact, I would say most of that difference that you're paying for really is going to come down to that VRAM if you're a content creator or something like that that can really take advantage of the extra VRAM. So the 3070 Ti is going to be a similar story, probably will be very close in performance to the 3080, but of course it's going to be a little bit beefier. Now, I consider the 3070 to be one of the best balanced GPUs that they've released in a very long time. The power draw is great, the heat is great, as well as the performance that you're getting. Remember, that's a GPU that's really going head to head and often beating a 2080 Ti, so you can imagine the 3070 Ti will also put up great performance. The 3080 brought with it, aside from not being available and being really expensive right now if you try to find one, it actually brought with it great performance for at least the initial offering, which was a very fair price at $699. So we can expect the 3070 Ti to pretty much bring the same, except we know that as soon as these GPUs start rolling off the manufacturing presses, they're going to be very difficult to find, and the street price is certainly going to be considerably higher than MSRP. We would guess that the MSRP for something like a Founders Edition most likely would be $999 for something like the 3080 Ti, and then the 3070 Ti likewise is going to slot right in between the 3070 as well as the 3080, which you would probably see it at maybe like $599 or something like that. But MSRP prices simply don't matter. These GPUs, especially what we have now, are going for pretty much twice, or in most cases 3 times the price of what they originally were. If you look for a 3080 right now and you have to go on the secondhand market, you're going to be paying well well over $2,000 for it, which is a lot more than you would pay for a 3090 when it first came out. Now, there's going to be one major caveat here that may possibly do something to the prices and the availability of these GPUs, and that's going to be the limitations on the hash rate for Ethereum that Nvidia is putting into the GPUs. Now, we remember that the 3060 had a limitation, but it was sort of bypassed by Nvidia's own beta drivers, the 470.05. Those drivers, and if the GPU is plugged into a monitor, seem to be able to pretty much give you the full hash rate of that GPU instead of the half hash rate that Nvidia promised. So that idea went pretty much out the window, but the 3080 Ti and the 3070 Ti most likely are going to be part of what they call the LHR, or the Lite Hash Rate GPUs. In fact, even 3070s and 3080s that are going to be produced from now going forward, seems like those will also get this nerf for their hash rate capabilities. We can expect in many cases pretty much half the performance in that case. Now, this is going to be very interesting in terms of what it does to the actual market, because first we have to worry about availability and the pricing. Now, if this really works and these GPUs are half the hash rate without any type of bypass or any type of ulterior method to get it working, like happened with the 3060, I could definitely see miners really not want to go for this GPU because A, they're going to be expensive, and B, at half the performance, really not going to be an attractive option. They're going to want to get the older school 3080 and 3090. Now, keep in mind that the 3090 seems to be one of the only GPUs that have actually not gotten this treatment from Nvidia in terms of the LHR models. So I guess they just figured that's a very expensive GPU, and they really do want to keep that sort of like in a niche market and keep that separate, understandably so. But it looks like the 3080 Ti definitely will get these limitations. So if these limitations stick and people really can't do a workaround, if they're both firmware and software based as well as on the hardware, certainly will be interesting to see what happens to availability and pricing. Obviously, you expect them to sell out instantly anyway because the gamer demand is going to be there, but we'll see over time. Maybe if miners don't buy them, perhaps over time this can help to equal out sort of the really bad situation that we're in now in terms of the price and the availability. Same thing will hold true for the 3070 Ti. Now, obviously, this does have other ramifications for these GPUs as well down the line. For example, these definitely, most likely, years from now, if mining is still a thing, they're going to have a lower resale value than something like a 3080 or a 3090, just because they're really just gaming based. And if the Lite hash rate really sort of follows through and it's not something that's ever able to be changed, certainly it's going to be a bit of a gimped GPU, because now, as we know, even regular gamers that just have one GPU, sometimes they like to put it for a little bit of mining. Nothing wrong with that, but I guess the major problem here is they're trying to avoid very large mining operations from buying these in bulk. So in conclusion, from this new event, that's basically what we're expecting on the gaming GPU side. We're expecting Nvidia to announce these new GPUs. Most likely they're going to be coming sometime in June, and while they don't really have any particularly interesting performance or technology like we've seen before when the 3080 was initially announced, there are a few interesting things to see. Like we mentioned, the Lite hash rate. Let's see how this will play out in the market. I don't really think anybody knows. We have to see, and if anything's going to be sort of a workaround, we have to see how long-term these GPUs will work, but I still wouldn't expect these to be available in any great quantities. They haven't been able to keep up with demand of 3070s and 3080s, so why would they be able to do that with a 3080 Ti or 3070 Ti? It's just another SKU to throw out there. So depending on their manufacturing yields, they can really fill every little niche and make sure that nothing's wasted. So we're gonna have to see what happens. I mean, I guess it's a step in the right direction, at least having something. Maybe that will help somewhat with the availability and the pricing. And of course, we have had recent drops in sort of the value of cryptocurrency, but that happens all the time. You'll have these dips and then it goes back up. So the future really is something that we have to kind of hang on for a wild ride and see what happens. But we'll definitely update, the market analysis, sort of what's going on with GPUs as we see more and more of these out in the wild and the effect that they're having on pricing and availability. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed. Remember to subscribe, smash that like button. Let me know what you think down below. Do you think the prospect of these GPUs may bring about some type of change coming up in the future? And I'll see you guys on the next video.